Hello everyone, my name is cosolix. Welcome to the video. This is a free Neutralix class. So Neutralix has a membership that's essentially just $5 and you can show up to live online classes, ask questions from professional players, content creators, and coaches, as well as get access to all the previous classes. We have over 8 classes and this video is the first class. This is from about 8 months ago and all the information is still relevant. So I definitely recommend watching this video if you want to improve immediately at Brawlhalla, and if you enjoy it, consider subscribing and joining the Neutralix membership. Again, it's only $5 and you get access to these classes as well as previous lectures. It helps support the channel, so do that. If not, this video is free. All our other videos are free, and that's more than enough resources to improve at Brawlhalla as well. So yeah, hope you enjoy the class, and thanks for watching the video.
Okay. A lot of pressure now, damn. Okay. Let me start the slideshow.
No pressure. Don't worry about me.
Yeah. I'm just gonna try and help as much as possible, and that's kind of all I can do. So yeah, how to win every single Brawlhalla match. You guys all definitely want the answer to that. So how I like to describe it is I've got a 3-step plan. And the biggest thing is to minimize your scope. So essentially, winning a Brawlhalla match is there's a lot of factors. There's every single attack and there's different situations. So kind of how can you make this as simple as possible? And for me, it's just there's 3 steps that allow you to win every match. And how I came up with them is kind of thinking, okay, what do you actually need to do to win a Brawlhalla match? And in my opinion, if you hit your opponent more than they hit you, you're probably going to win on average. Like if you do more damage or you win neutral is kind of what it's called. So how do you hit them more than they hit you? And that's what this plan solves. So the first step is to make your opponent miss. And I know it sounds really passive, but you can make them miss through a lot of different ways. Like, I don't know if you guys watch Guichibu, he uses like 9 Dex Lin Fei, and he makes people miss by throwing out attacks that they think that they can punish, but then they can't, and then they miss. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but so you can make people miss by running away. You can make people miss by having really good movement, by throwing out attacks. We'll go in detail for each step, but yeah, step 1, we gotta make them miss. We gotta make them vulnerable. And if your opponent is missing or if they're vulnerable, we ask yourself, can you punish that vulnerability? And it's really important about the accuracy of that decision. If you can't punish, then no, you kind of gotta go back to step 1. You gotta make them miss again. And if you can punish, you go for the punish. And if it lands, you get to step 3. And step 3 is, can you combo? And so comboing in Brawlhalla, sometimes it's guaranteed, sometimes it's not guaranteed. And sometimes it depends on your opponent. Like, there's reads, there's strings, there's true combos. You can go into, there's so many tips to kind of sub-categorize each step to improve on it. So make them miss his movement. Can you punish his accuracy? Can you combo is like a flowchart, and we'll be going over that a little bit later, but this is just a summary, right? And if you can't combo, you go back to step 1, you make the miss. And sometimes to extend combos, a lot of players will not extend the combo intentionally. Like, let's say if your opponent wakes up, if you don't know the wake up is, it's basically when your opponent attacks right away once they got hit. So you land the combo, then we kind of want to make them miss again. So if your opponent attacks right away, let them miss, and then you go back into the step 2, etc. Right? It's just a loop. It's a forever cycle of Brawlhalla. Any questions about this? This is just like a brief summary of Brawlhalla in general, but no questions? Okay, we're good. So now you understand the 3-step plan. We talked about briefly how to add tips to the plan. So yeah, like step 1 would be movement, baiting, maybe don't be too close to your opponent depending on the weapons you play. Everybody here plays a different character. Everyone here is a different rank. But at the end of the day, you can kind of think of how do you get your opponent to be vulnerable? And you've got your own kind of tips and things to improve on it. And the biggest thing is when you're improving, you can kind of categorize each improvement depending on which part of the plan it is. So yeah, if it's movement, it's probably going to help you with step 1 and a little bit of step 2, which is punishing with combo starters by having good positioning. So movement and positioning kind of go hand in hand. If you position yourself like I play Lance, if I'm horizontal, I can hit side light. And side light is my combo starter, so I'm going to do the most amount of damage. And that's a flow chart, like which options you should go for. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. But there's a million tips out there on YouTube and everything. But the hardest thing is kind of knowing how do you apply those tips. And this categorizing, like the 3-step plan explains where the tip should be implemented into your game plan. And then yeah, can you combo? So yeah, combo starters, positioning. If you do combo, what combo should you go for? And that's flowchart, which yeah, I'll go a little bit later. Go to the next one, which is just basically step 1, make them miss. So here's just a couple extra kind of tips to add to go into more depth. But movement is the biggest thing, right? You like preemptive movement is basically when you're moving kind of automatically. Like let's say you get somewhat near somebody, then you move, and because you're always moving, you're harder to hit, right? So you're pressuring them with movement. There's a lot of things that can kind of help with this, like try not to be stacked if you have worse options. If you know about dash cancels, will make it so you can't necessarily get stacked. I'm not going to be going over specific movement tips, and I'm not going to go into too specifics with these tips. This is very general, where if you want to improve your movement, Neutralix has movement tips videos where they'll talk about every single movement tip and how to apply them. But this is more general game plan of like, how do you improve the step 1? So yeah, try not to be stacked, position an opponent's dead zones. So for instance, Lance has no diagonal options. So if you're diagonal, there's less risk depending on the opponent you're fighting against. Like if it's Orion, watch out for Lance neutral sig. But no different, like Spears has very poor horizontal movement. So if you're horizontal to spear players, maybe you'll catch them trying to go for spear side light, and that move is not terrible, but very punishable. Things like dash, jump, fast fall. That's the fastest way to move in Brawlhalla. So that's kind of just one you kind of need to know. But yeah, dash cancels as well, not to be sacked. I already talked about that a little bit. I can kind of show you a bit of gameplay with all 3 steps, but just kind of getting you thinking, how can you make your first step better? Like, how can you make them miss? And everyone here has their own game plan to accomplish that. But how do you add tips to that game plan? And what's the purpose of what you're trying to do? Just focusing on that purpose is the key takeaway from this lecture of, like, just that step. It's as simple as that. If you can make them miss, it doesn't matter how you make them miss. If you make them miss, that's all you need, right? I literally would either run away or just space myself horizontally. And my gameplay was pretty robotic when I was first getting good, but sometimes you have to be robotic and just make things as simple as possible, like Megd and whatnot. But yeah, second tip, can you punish? So the biggest thing that I think should be a takeaway is only try to punish your opponent if it will land. And that's like the biggest mistake I see every player make, and even pros make this mistake. Like Guichibu throwing out an attack that's unpunishable. It's okay to not go for a punish. A lot of people will just go for these bait moves like Cannon Cider that have tons of drift. If you can't catch it, like let's say there's a 50% chance that you can punish it and a 50% chance that you can't, and you're making that decision in your head, don't go for it. It's better to go for the most consistent and accurate result. Accuracy is like the most important thing. So yeah, it's okay to not punish an attack. You can go back to step 1 and make them miss again, because they probably will. If they're spamming attacks and movement, one of those is going to be, punishable. A lot of these tips specific are 1v1, just to really focus on the scope. They do apply to 2v2, but there's other stuff. Like, we'll do future lectures on 2v2 for sure. There's so much game plan stuff that I'd love to talk about in that regards. But just in pure 1v1, it's okay to not go for punishes and try and make them miss again and make them vulnerable. And yeah, focus on the accuracy in the decisions. If you're 100% accurate, like, you're going to win. It's really hard to be accurate, but pros are more accurate. And the most accurate pros are the ones that usually win, if not always win. Like, Use is a very passive and accurate player. Kaina is very accurate. If you know those guys, these guys are the top Brazilians right now. Even Loras, who's, top Brazilian. Brazil's the best region in Brawlhalla right now, at least in 1v1. So you can kind of see what they're doing. Obviously, they've got some like crazy combo routes and it looks so complex, but at the end of the day, like, they've got this set structure game plan that they can follow with their eyes closed. Come up with a game plan yourself that is so easy that you don't even need to think. And focusing on one step at a time will help with that. The easier the game plan, the better. And yeah, good positioning makes it easier to punish. Like, if you're closer, then you can get the punish. There's a lot of ways to kind of do that. Like I personally use directional air dodges. I'll dodge horizontally and then I get a horizontal punish with Lance. But again, it depends on every weapon. The key with this lecture is get you thinking about which solutions can you apply to stuff like this. And sure. So guitars have better stacked options, so I wouldn't try and be stacked with guitars. The biggest thing is, or like one tip that you can add to this is position yourself based on like the weaknesses of your opponent. So yeah, if it's a guitars character, I would not try and be stacked. And to get them to punish would be don't be stacked. But if it's a lance player, they've got less stacked options. Like they might lance downlight, but really there's not too much. Same with spear, for instance. So if you are more stacked and pressuring closer, you'll be a lot better. It just depends on, the weapon you're fighting against and which weapon you have in your hands. So everyone's solution to this is slightly different, but if you have guitars, then you'd want to be a bit more stacked usually, but you still want to be close. It's like good positioning makes it easier to punish. Guitar players, they can't punish very easily from far away, right? If you're really far from your opponent, you're not going to land a punish. So you're going to want to be closer, but at the same time, like we got to make our opponent miss. It's just slightly different positioning to help with this 3-step plan. This 3-step plan applies to every weapon. It's just how you want to go about it is just slightly different. And I'll go over that. There's kind of two halves to this lecture. So the first half is the 3-step plan, just really focusing. I'll play an experimental game or two with different characters, talking about like the positioning and how do you do that plan. But yeah, if you guys have any questions as well, just let me know. Message them in student general whenever. I know I'm talking a lot and there's not too many visuals for this, so I'll play a match in a second. But the last step to the plan is can you combo? And so, like, if it's a true combo or one dodge frame, then you probably can combo, unless you're playing against a high Valhalla player. But also, how do you extend that third step? How can you keep comboing before going back to step one? Or when should you go back to step one? And like reacting to your opponent's next miss is kind of like going back to step one. But other ways to extend step three are reads. And I think everyone here knows what reading is. Like if you see your opponent dodge in every single time, then you can go for it. Especially it takes 3 times for something to become a habit. Once or twice isn't always a habit, but if you see your opponent dodge in 3 times, they're probably going to dodge in the next time. And another thing is safe guesses. A lot of people do this at a pro level, but they don't really talk about this. This is kind of baiting with extensions. So if you have a string, so if you have a combo that's not confirmed, but the follow-up is really hard to punish, then it's sometimes okay to go for that string, even if your opponent can dodge out of it. Like let's say, for instance, on cannon, you hit a downlight there, and then you could do like a chase dodge Sarah on cannon because cannon Sarah has so much momentum. It doesn't need to be a chase dodge Sarah, but you hit a cannon Sarah after it. It has so much momentum, like it's really hard to punish cannon Sarah. You can sometimes go for stuff like that. So that's a tip that can help with that third step. So there's a couple tips in this lecture, but the biggest thing is like watch YouTube videos yourself, kind of learn and just be in the community and recognize the tips, but then how does that tip help the plan? And if you can't think of how the tip works, then I wouldn't take the tip. I wouldn't implement it. But if the tip can help with the first, second, or third step, then you can start working on implementing it into your game by creating a habit, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But yeah, if they wake up, make them miss and punish it. That's kind of the same as what I said above. And the biggest thing for step 3 is a flowchart. And what is it? How do you optimize it? We'll talk about that a little bit later. That'll be the next thing. But for now, I want to play a quick experimental game or two and just really kind of talk about the 3-step plan while it happens. And again, I don't want to complicate you guys or anything. At the end of the day, if you make your opponent miss in any means necessary, and you make accurate decisions if you can punish them or not, and then you hit combos, like that's all you need to win at Brawlhalla. If you can follow that plan and not make any mistakes, you'll win every game. It just depends on how you want to go about of completing that game plan. Before I play this game, does anyone have any questions about that kind of material or the idea of a 3-step game plan? Hey, Balloon Boy.
What's up?
What do you think? Do you agree?
Yeah,
It's a bit oversimplified, but I think
yeah.
making it really simple makes
I
it
do a
easier.
lot of the things that you're talking about. So yeah, I get it.
Awesome. Yeah, Balloon Boy is, dude, you're way better than me right now. So if you disagree, just like cut me off, and then we could even like have a conversation and be like, okay, why, and get a different perspective. That'd be awesome.
I bet.
So you can make them miss by throwing out an attack that's, unpunishable for them. And also, if your opponent is standing still, the key thing with the three-step plan is step one, make them miss could be synonymous to make them vulnerable. If they're standing still, they're vulnerable. So you can go for like a Qatar in air and just attack them and break neutral. But really the safest way about doing something like that is go for an attack that's hard for them to punish, and they'll want to punish eventually. Or yeah, try and hit them with something that's hard to punish.
You can also bait out an attack with your movement. Like if you're like being overly aggressive with your movement and going at them, but you don't
Mhm.
throw out an attack, it's like you're baiting an attack out. So they're gonna try to dodge an attack that isn't even there, and then you're just gonna like basically punish them for being scared of you.
Yeah, exactly. It's like get in their uncomfortable zone. That's like a
Yeah.
unreactable zone, which we could talk about in a future lecture, like reactable, unreactable zones. We made a video about it last year of like how to dodge or I think it was how to aggress in Brawlhalla, or like how to play aggressive. So check that video out if you want to learn more about reactable and reactable zones. But yeah, it's just a tip to help with the first step for sure. There's so many tips out there, like going over every single tip that you guys would need that would take 10 hours. But at the end of the day, hopefully this class will give you the tools to implement any tip into your game plan. And then into your gameplay once it's in your plan, if that makes sense. But yeah, like I got Sidra right here. Like Sword doesn't have as much baiting moves, but you'll see like already that dodge is preemptive movement. And also even that first attack, like I didn't try and punish the first attack. I'm not trying to punish every attack, but the ones I think are punishable, I'll go for. And there was like, I'm just going back to step one because I didn't have a confirm. Now he had no dodge, so I kept going. So I got him to miss. I actually missed there. Missed there. Get him to miss. I'm just missing. Can I combo? Not really. Now he's got no dodge, so he's vulnerable. Can I combo? Not really. He's vulnerable. I missed it because I'm bad. He had no dodge, so I end-lighted. He was vulnerable because he had no dodge. And then the weapon throw is kind of safe. Sometimes you can hit them if it's like really safe, or yeah, weapon throw isn't so much of a hit, but it can make them vulnerable. Like, sometimes they're vulnerable. But we'll have a future lecture on weapon throws. I don't want to overcomplicate it, but yeah, if you got good movement and preemptive movement, you can make them miss. And see, like there, I got pretty close. I jumped out. I'm playing pretty passive here, so that was bad for me. That was bad. I dodged in. That was terrible. I missed the side light. He had no dodge, so he was vulnerable. I couldn't really combo, so I didn't. No dodge, so I hit the end light. I went for the Sarah because I had a big lead, and also, same thing. Sarah is hard to punish. You can see the movement as well. Movement really helps with step one, so I'd really recommend that. And then there, I dodged horizontally because I've got sword down light. It puts me in a better position to get a punish. And that was all three steps right there. I hit a punish, I hit a combo, and then I went back to step one, make them miss. There's a lot happening pretty quick, but after this, I can slow it down in a replay file just to like microanalyze. I'll go back to cannon. Made a miss, couldn't get that punish. It was pretty safe to go for because he had cannon after the dare. And if he's standing still like this, he's vulnerable. Except I barely missed. He gave up. Okay, cool. But yeah, if they're just standing still, you can attack really quick if you're fast enough because they can't react to it. If they're moving, though, it's harder to do that, so watch out. Let me go to that replay really quick. I'm just going to pick a random moment, and you'll see the three-step plan within that moment. So like right here, for instance, he goes for this end light. I avoid it, so I made him miss. I have the step one. Then step two, can I punish this? I thought I could punish it if I aimed it to the left, and I definitely could have. I would have hit him, but I misinputted. But you can kind of see the idea. So step 1, make him miss. He got near me, so I wanted to dodge the cross. Like I wanted to get him to the other side, and I just dodged improperly. So almost worked, but there we go. Here, I jumped to get out of this combo, made him miss. Can I punish? I thought yes with the side light. I guess the toe doesn't count, but that's fine. But yeah, let's go back. And right here, for instance, this end light works because watch this. I noticed my opponent just dodged. So instead of making them miss necessarily, it's make them vulnerable is probably a better way of saying it. Either way, we need to make their options limited. So the attack is guaranteed. It's all about accuracy in the attack and accuracy following this game plan. If all goes to plan, like you should never get hit if you're always accurate. So just focus on the accuracy of your own game plans.
Wait, can I say something?
Sure.
I saw also wait, go back to where he dodged in the air.
Here.
Yeah, like your option select could also like be better for like more damage because here you can sidelight and like with cannon you can just like you can take them for a ride, bro.
Yeah, I definitely could have sidelighted if I was a bit quicker. I did a
Yeah.
backdash, and then I'm too far away for the sidelight. So definitely, like, there's a lot of ways to maximize, and that is the flow chart, which we'll talk about. Like, right here, I could go for the end light, but that's one hit. Where you're right, you could sidelight there, and then they might get a dodge back, probably not. So they'll probably jump up. So then you could Sair, and Sair is hard to punish. Then Sair goes into recovery. They could be dead, or at least you hit 4 hits. So that's insane. So yeah, maximizing your flowchart really helps with that step 3. But yeah, at the end of the day, every single tip will help with a specific step. I won't go over it too much more, but yeah, right here, like I want to maximize damage. He did a gravity cancel side light. So I'm like, okay, I'll downlight there, and then the end light's confirmed. I don't know if it's actually confirmed. It might have been jumpable. Like he did a jump dare here, so he just dared into it. I think maybe a side light's confirmed there. I don't play cannon. I don't know. But either way, he had no dodge, so I kept going. No dodge? Okay, so you're probably going to jump, and then he does, right? So that's helping with step 3, kind of recognizing if they're vulnerable or not. But it all stems from make them vulnerable, which I did, make them miss. Can I punish? Yes. And then there's tips like your positioning. I didn't jump up into the air. I walked horizontally so I could hit a downlight. The biggest thing is punishing with combo starters is like 9 times out of 10 what you're going to want to do. But most of you guys know that. It's the other tips that will kind of help with your game plan over time. But does anyone have any questions about the 3-step plan or how to implement it into your gameplay before we talk about flowcharts? No questions. Should be good. Okay, cool. So flowchart, if you guys don't already know, it's basically a way to visualize your option select. So it's kind of like once you hit step 3 and you've punished your opponent and you're deciding what combo should I go for, that kind of is like which flowchart, which path should I go on to? Like you might have an opening and attack. So like let's say my opening attack was that cannon downlight. Then does the downlight have, oh, this wasn't supposed to say reset, but anyways. Does the downlight have a true combo? Yep. So I go to the true combo. Does the true combo have a string that's really tight, like 1 dodge frame, or do I want to go for the string? Let's say yes, and I'll go for the string. Then after the string, there's going to be a ton of other options that you could do. You could reset and make them miss again. You could stand still and like try and do like a delayed attack or something. You could like spot dodge if you're in the air and then kind of have that positioning. You can go for a bait. You can go for a read. You can go for a reaction. Like there's a lot of different ways to optimize your flowchart. The biggest and most important universal things are go for the true combos because it's guaranteed. And then if you're trying to kill, go for a kill option. Like for Lance, it would be sidelight Sair, or if you have a true combo on blasters, you go downlight recovery, etc. It's like which option, which combo should you go for given the circumstance. But there's a lot of ways to optimize this. My own personal opinion of like, I've got my own optimizations for Lance. It's going to be different for every weapon slightly. Watch your favorite pros and take notice of, given the circumstance, which solution do they go for? This is kind of like, what's the most optimal way to combo your opponent? And start at least thinking about this kind of stuff. And then you can slowly start applying it to your own game. Of you want to almost create a habit of which options you should go for, and then once it's a habit, you don't need to think about it. So at least try and think of how can you optimize your own flowchart. I, I think everyone here kind of understands what a flowchart is now, but yeah, should you go for a kill option or go for damage? Again, yeah, it depends on your opponent, what health they're at. But yeah, let me go to the next slide. If you have any questions about what a flowchart is or whatever I just talked about, just let me know ASAP because stuff kind of builds. The biggest thing with a flowchart and all this stuff is creating habits. Like let's say your flowchart, you want to add a combo to your game plan. Like you want to implement this combo that you just learned from some YouTube video. The number one tip that I think is going to help you guys the most is understanding what a habit is and how to create new ones. So our goal is to create a habit of the game plan that we're talking about today, that 3-step plan, and also the flow chart or the tips that help with that 3-step plan. So when you create a habit, there's basically kind of 3 things that you need to do. The step 1 is basically to implement it. Here, I'll go to this slide. So sorry that this is slightly blurry. I'm just saying this now. But step 1, try implementing the habit. Let's say you go for a kill option. You're like, oh, this isn't optimal. I should be doing this instead. Try implementing that next time. Like, let's say for Katars, some people will go for a neutral light recovery, or some people will go for a down light recovery to kill. Let's say down light recovery is more optimal. Then try doing that next time if you do a neutral light recovery. So try implementing the thing you're trying to improve at. And then once you implement that habit, you got to continue implementing it for 3 weeks. It takes a while to create new habits. Like it's muscle memory that you're kind of programming yourself. So to do that, you have to consciously think about what you're trying to implement. You implement it and then continue implementing it. This is with everything in life. I'm sure a lot of you guys know this. But really, in relation to that 3-step plan, let's say you have some tip that really helps your movement. Like let's say it is dash canceling, which we talked about a little bit earlier. And let's say I want to dash cancel more. Here's how to apply it. Try implementing it yourself and implement it properly. Continue implementing it. It's going to feel weird at first. And then it's going to turn into a habit. And then you don't need to think about it. And then you can think about something else. So really, and I summarized it at the end, but creating habits of what we're talking about today is like just the biggest thing in the world. And yeah, it's literally just the 3 steps. And one other thing that will really help you guys improve, and this is the number 1 tip that got me through Brawlhalla, is every time you get hit in Brawlhalla, there is a mistake. You've made some mistake, and that mistake is probably a habit. So if I even go back to this last game, and I find a random moment where I got hit. So like, let's say right here, right? For instance, this guy dashed towards me, and I'm kind of stacked with him, right? But I'm just slightly on the left side, not stacked, but near him. I shouldn't be staying close to him. He's got Katars, right? I should be going kind of up and away and trying to reset grounded, maybe through weapon tosses or another means, maybe movement, whatever. I dodged into him. So here's the habit. Don't dodge in against Katars. Never go into Katars or don't stay inside of Katars for a long period of time. That's a recipe for disaster. So to fix this mistake, the next time I'm playing against a Katars player, I need to try not to be as close, right? And then keep playing against Katars players until it becomes a habit where I'm automatically not that close. And then I can start thinking of other things and how to destroy them even more. Right? So and this is true every single time you get hit in Brawlhalla, there's a mistake. Recognize what your mistake is. Then next time that situation happens, try solving it, right? Think of the solution when it happens, and then try implementing that solution next time. And once you play enough, and you kind of like keep implementing that solution over a long period of time, that's when it turns into a habit. Any questions with habits or anything like that? This stuff is fairly general and self-explanatory, but it's really good to think about the basics and essentials, lower the scope of what you guys need to do to win every single Brawlhalla match. And so then, you know, it's less challenging if it looks easier, right? So we're just trying to
I have
make
a
it as
question.
easy as possible. Yeah, what's poppin', Balloon?
Are you gonna like get into like blind spots on certain weapons that certain weapons have? and
You're
how to
thinking like the dead zones of the weapons in a way.
yeah, yeah.
I'm not going too much into depth about this. This is more of a general like how to win every Brawlhalla match, where
Well, okay.
definitely dead zones can really help. So like let's say guitars are stacked, so if you're further away, then they can't reach you. So that's like a dead zone for them in a way. But think about what your opponent's bad at. Think about like what the character like. Yeah, if I don't want to be stacked and I go away from them, then I'll have a better time fighting them if I got more range. Yeah, think about what your weapon's bad at. That can definitely help. Yeah, what's poppin', Alex? I would focus on the habits that implement your gameplay the most. So if you're getting hit for this reason, like X reason, every single stock, then definitely prioritize. It's hard to focus on multiple habits at once and try and implement them, especially when they're around the same time. There's so many factors. So just one at a time, like you only have so many minutes in your day, you only have so many hours, you only have so many years on Earth. Really maximize that time by focusing on the things that are going to impact you the most.
I have a question.
Yeah, what is it?
Yeah, I was wondering, like, basically I play Bryn, but I keep on doing like these really stupid habits over and over again.
Mhm.
So I was wondering, like, basically I try to pick up a different character because I keep using like sidelight as an approach, and I keep doing like the bad stuff over and over again. So is it like smart to like pick new weapons to kind of like start from scratch with like good habits, basically, or how would I do that?
No matter what you play, there's going to be bad habits that either develop or you're going to have them. Pick which weapon that you have the most fun playing, and I would main a specific weapon or just a specific legend, at least until you're a diamond, because it's all about lowering that scope. And really, if you're focused on one thing, then there's only so many bad habits. Like all your bad habits would just be on one character instead of maining a bunch of characters. But the biggest thing is fun as well. Like you want to play the game and enjoy it. So I would keep playing Bryn if you enjoy playing Bryn. And then the bad habits that you do, it sounds like you already know what the bad habits are. Think about the best solution. What should you have done in those situations? And every time that situation happens, and let's say you make the mistake, make like a little mental note. I should have done this. I do this a lot in like videos and when I'm streaming. I'll just like verbally say my mistake. I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have jumped, or oh, I shouldn't have dodged in. Even when I was sharing the screen earlier, I think I did it a couple times. So just make a note, even just in your head, or be like, oh, what's the right solution? Or start thinking of what should I have done. And then the next time it happens, there's a chance you're going to remember what the solution is. Start applying it and then create new good habits.
Well, I don't think like playing a different weapon is like that bad either because what is it like? Because he said his problem was that he kept approaching with sidelight, so playing a different weapon could make him try to approach differently, and it could show him like how to approach differently with the weapon he already plays because he can't do the same approach option with a different weapon.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
would still main one character though. Like, let's
Well,
say
yeah, yeah.
you want to approach with sidelight, then pick a different character. Because if you'll have more fun with a character that can approach with a sidelight, then maybe you'll have more fun playing. I don't know, like Gauntlet sidelight is kind of fun, or Lance Sarah is fun, so that's why I like Lance. And Lance sidelight is fun for me. But yeah, just pick whatever's like the best for your playstyle, and then main that character and focus on the bad habits you have with that character. If you love Bryn, keep playing Bryn. But yeah, picking a main is essential for lowering the scope of how many mistakes you need to correct. If you have any questions with the bad habit specifically on Bryn, if you want to send me the replay, we can kind of go over it very quickly just to help verbalize this even more.
Oh no, it's good, man. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'll get a replay next time. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, no worries. Yeah, if you have any questions, you could always like send a clip of what you're doing and just be like, hey, what did I do wrong here? If there's a moment where you get hit and you're like, I don't know what I should have done, just message in the student general, pick one of the coaches or myself, and then we'll respond as fast as we can. But yeah, the major summary to take away from this is the 3-step plan. And the biggest things that will help for each step. Step 1 is usually movement, and even movement within attacks like baiting and whatnot. Getting your opponent to miss, make them vulnerable. Step 2's biggest tip, in my opinion, would be accuracy. Focus on the accuracy of can you punish who you're punishing. There's other micro tips that you guys can think about, like which attack should I be punishing with. And then that goes into step 3 of your flow chart. Your flow chart is how to optimize your combo game. So try and really optimize which route, which combos should you go for depending on the situation. And it's not about making your flow chart confusing. When I started playing Brawlhalla, my flow chart was one combo. I swear to God. And I got 3rd in a tournament for that back in 2017 because that combo was optimal. So there's characters where one combo is almost the most optimal. And if it's that easy, like if there's one solution for every problem, take it. All right. If your flowchart is 90% there, but it's not 100, that 10% isn't going to be a big difference for you compared to other ways to improve. So really, with everything, lower the scope of what you need to do. Try and make it as easy as possible. Try and find the easiest ways to move. Try and find the easiest ways to be accurate, or the easiest flowchart for you to follow that will get the job done. And always focus on what's gonna, what bad habit, what mistake are you making that's impacting your game the most. So that's the second part, habits. Recognize the mistake, try and find the mistake that is most common, try and fix it the next time it happens, and then make a solution of the habit. Or yeah, make the solution a habit. So I'm gonna play one more game right now, but I'm gonna verbalize specifically going on those habits. Let me play random. But every single time I get hit, I'll mention what I did wrong. Like, you can do this while you're playing. And pros do this during tournaments, and they just make more mental notes. I talk during tournaments sometimes, like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. And I think most of you guys all do the same. It's just doing it every single time, and you can, if you do that and you...
Bro, cosolix, get out of my game, dude. Come on, dude.
Did you actually
Really?
snipe me?
Bro, come on, dude. Really? You had to do this to me?
That's really funny. You know what? We'll do this as a test. Every time you get hit, I want you to try and tell me, and like very quickly, what you should have done. Like, what was your mistake there?
Alright, hold on. I don't know. Probably fucking running into you.
Well, what did you do? You did a side air, so why did you side air?
You punished my side air.
So
Oh, I thought you
what
might
was the
have jumped.
problem? So you thought I would have
I'm
jumped.
missing my attack.
Yeah. So try and be accurate. And remember the step 1. Was I vulnerable? Did I miss?
No.
Exactly. So that side air was really hard to hit. There, I don't know. I was focused. There's just a couple bad dodges where you dodged too early, and so I was able to hit combos. And then you also did a spot dodge, which is very easy for players to react to. And you did the dodge in the air, so I was able to punish it. You almost did a spot dodge again. Well, you did, but I almost capitalized. Nice. Yeah, got a little too close with the movement. Could have mixed it up a bit better. Oh, I did a mistake on that punish, just slightly mispositioning. But keep making mental tips every time you get hit. Balloon Boy, you want to do a 1v1 and we can kind of talk about it after this? Also, yeah, you're spot dodging a lot. Like, a lot of these hits, by the way, is just from, like... Yeah, I shouldn't have saved you.
I'm kind of helping my mom right now, but I'm done when I'm done.
Okay. But yeah, the stuff that we're talking about, like, I know it's stuff that maybe you guys know already or you have your own definitions for it, but really thinking about them constantly because it applies to every level. A pro level, a silver level, just getting good, maybe understanding the 3-step plan in general. Even like a diamond level, how do you optimize the flowchart? What mistakes are you making? Like, that down sig had no purpose. It didn't have, I didn't miss, right? It was a little bit random. Also, you gotta stop spot dodging.
I know, dude. I do it all the time.
But now that you know you do it all the time, next time try not to spot dodge. If that's your biggest mistake, That was good. Good footsies. Every time you spot dodge, I want you to like be like, oh, I shouldn't have spot dodged. Nice. I misinput it. I wouldn't have went for that dare.
Save me.
Yeah. That dare was risky.
Damn it. Spot dodge again.
Yeah, you did, yeah. See, I didn't even recognize it, but because you were looking out for it, now next time you're probably not going to spot dodge. And even if you do, you're going to really notice it and try and correct that habit.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just playing experimental while listening to you, and we got in each other's game, dude. It's nuts.
That's really funny. Does anyone have any like specific questions, like habits that you guys have? I don't mind if anyone here wants a 1v1. We can kind of do this as like an experiment. Or...
I'm down.
Okay. It takes a bit of a habit of like literally learning how to do it. It could take you out of the game. So maybe I wouldn't do it so much if your life is on the line, like if you're in a tournament and there's real money, or you're doing like a money match against friends. But even then, like you can make a mental note without verbalizing it. Like in my head, every time I make a mistake, I kind of think about it for like half a second and then focus back on the game. And even while focusing on the game, if you want to win that game, you can't make the same mistakes multiple times throughout that game. Like that spot dodge, for instance. Because you're spot dodging so many times, you have to be able to recognize mid-match. If you spot dodge and you keep getting punished for it, don't spot dodge next time. And that could be the difference between gaining elo and not.
Yeah, you definitely want to notice your own mistakes more than like you want to notice your mistake before the opponent notices your own mistake.
Exactly. And then correct it. And then if your opponent recognizes a mistake, then correct that until your opponent can't find a mistake because you're not making one. And then at that point, you're winning. But yeah, okay. Artillery, you joined me. Okay, great. Let me set this. So let's do a 1v1, and then depending on like when you get hit, if you have the time to verbalize the mistake. If not, I might do it for you. But try and say the mistake you made, or the most common mistake, the common denominator of how could you take the next interaction, make it better. Anyways, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm yapping a lot, but I'm also not used to teaching, so I'm trying my best. I'm used to like coaching, but like a class environment is definitely different. Even there, you got a little close to me with other weapon.
All right. I'm sorry. I'm putting myself on the edge a lot, but I'm not really doing anything with it.
You're also dodging the land a bit.
Yeah, cosolix knows that you're scared of him, which is why he's just like running at you. Like he's not even like throwing out the first attack. He's just running at you with movement, and you're terrified of him.
And how do you deal with that?
You just gotta,
Definitely movement really helps the first step, but I could stop my movement and just go to sword a bit more. Okay. I'm gonna try not to dash even.
All right.
No, I'm gonna try not to dash and see. So I'll have worse movement, but that was a bad stare for me. Oh, I dashed.
Oh yeah.
I went for a follow-up that was hard to punish, and then you tried punishing it. That's part of like a flowchart of like I went for something I kind of knew wouldn't fit. Like, yeah, that's there. It wasn't super confirmed. Same with that Neutralix. Nice. Nice. It's hard to call somebody out like that sometimes, but also because my movement's more stagnant, you can go for stuff like that. Nice. No, yep. I dashed. You got too close. Nice. That end light made your movement stagnant. Yeah, that side light too isn't
Just
confirmed.
highlighted there.
Yeah. My movement's so stagnant that yeah, you can call me out on that. So yeah, if someone's really standing still, there's options. You could try. Because I don't have that much movement to work with, I'm going for a lot of baits to get you to miss. So it's gotta be accurate to punish.
All right.
Close game though.
Yeah.
Oh, I missed it.
At least you put it on over there.
Nice read. I
Thanks.
dodged up before that, so I gotta stop dodging up.
You noticed it once I went for the upgrade.
Oh, that hit on my screen. I heard it.
I feel you.
It was a bad weapon throw. You could have called me out for it.
Mhm.
So even if I didn't get hit there, I like knew that that was bad because I've gotten hit in those situations before. I want to break that habit. Down like a bait.
Yeah.
That dare is you shouldn't have tried to punish it because the nair is really hard to
Yeah.
punish.
Yeah, I see. I see. All right.
Those are good games though. Like you saw how close it was. Like little
Yeah.
decisions like that. Yeah.
All right. GG's.
GG's. Does anybody else want to do like a bit of a 1v1? Could help. No. Okay. If not, it's all good. The biggest things like we'll do another lecture in a month, and every single lecture will provide different value that will help. But yeah. Yeah, I got you.
Good lord.
No worries. That wasn't a bad question. That was a good question. Basically, anything that helps with this 3-step plan, I would, I would practice it. I wouldn't focus so much on mechanical skill because 1, it's subjective, and 2, you don't need it to win. Like at the end of the day, I had 0 mechanical skill when I won my first LAN compared to some of the other players around me. But if you come up with a game plan that allows you to win without having to try, then that's a lot better than having to be like talented. Like hard work beats talent unless talent works harder, in my opinion. So when it comes to mechanical skill, what I'm really trying to say is specifically like true combos. True combos are part of the flowchart. So you need to know how to input those true combos and make it a habit to input those true combos. Like if it's not a habit, go into training, do them 10 times in a row and get them all true 10 times in a row. Like make that like auto combo muscle memory. Same with movement. If you don't know how to do dash landings or you don't know how to dash cancel, then for sure go into training, learn how to input it. And then once inputting it becomes a habit, then implement it. So it's not brainlessly going into training and doing things a million times. Go into training when you need to really ensure that things are habits, like really ensure you have this muscle memory of doing the things that are necessary. Like once you know how to do it, then you can use it. But if you don't know how to do it, then go into training. You don't need to be the best in the entire world at dash canceling, nor do you need to be the most accurate in hitting true combos in the world. Like there's pros who miss true combos sometimes, but as long as you know how to hit them, and as long as you know how to dash cancel, then I'd focus on the implementation more than the mechanical skill that is a bit more subjective in my opinion. And I don't know, it sounds kind of difficult. I like making things as easy as possible. Alex, is that the ultimate question? Cool. So yeah, I'll upload this slide. I know this is very general stuff, but when you have a big class of a bunch of people, it's not so much about telling you all your individual answers because everyone's going to have their own game plan that helps with the 3-step plan, those notes of how do you like to move. My movement's different than Balloon Boy's, and it's different than Atrophius's. But it's really like we both use movement. We both do the first step. We both do the second step. We all do the third step. So how can you kind of optimize them for yourself? But this lecture is really about what are they and understanding them. We want to create this foundation of your game plan, and hopefully this helps with a strong foundation. I think for the next lecture, we'll do like either a poll or maybe I'll think for the next couple days what would provide the most amount of value. Like there's a lot of off-stage stuff that I'd love to talk about, especially getting a guest lecture speaker about offstage that's better than me at offstage because I'm not an offstage king. There's a lot of like advanced, like we can go in depth about movement, reactable and unreactable zones. I'd love to talk about. Maybe going specific to the first step, specific to the second step, and specific to the third step. A lot of offstage is the first step of get your opponent to miss, and it's the same thing but with different, you have different options to work with. So going more in depth in the future of what's the best movement in the game, how do you get people to miss with movement, we'll do that in the future. But yeah, for now, this is just like kind of that base level of your game plan and the foundation of what's to come. So yeah, once again, if you guys have any questions, even if it's not now, if you have a question whenever, just message in Student General, and either one of the coaches or myself will answer. Hopefully you guys can make it to the next lecture. If you can't make it, let me show you really fast. On the website, let me just show you where this lecture is going to be. So if you go on the website and then under members only, you hit videos, we're going to upload this lecture there. I need to log into the website and actually get this set up. But yeah, all future lectures will be there. If you have questions, message me here. The feed, if you use it right now or not. Why is it going like that? Why is it making me go there? That's really weird. Am I not logged in? I guess I'm not logged in. Yeah, I'm definitely logged in on Chrome, so let me just go there really fast.
I was like, show us your password and email, please, for 5%
I got you.
discount.
I got you. Yeah, so my credit card number is 949. Kidding. But yeah, if you hit feed, there we go. Yeah, it's because I'm logged in. There's announcements here, so just check that out if you don't. Under videos is where we're going to post the lectures. The slides will be put to the announcement channel, or maybe we'll make another channel. We'll see. And then perks is if we update we want to give you guys more. Like I know $4.99, it's not a crazy amount of money, but for one lecture a month and the 5% discount, it's not a ton. So we will be adding perks and we're gonna be improving this experience. I'm really like grateful that you guys are here so early, even if it was with like a coupon, if you're not paying it right now. Just being in early and supporting the community, I really appreciate. And the point of this isn't for Neutralix to make money. It's to be able to provide you guys a way to be coached without having to pay for coaching, because coaching is expensive. Like mine is like 50 US a session, where this is kind of like a more personal experience in a YouTube video, but for a more affordable option. And we're going to make this like as good as possible. The more people in the program and the more time we have to get used to this, it's only going to get better. So I appreciate you being early. Thanks for listening to this all. If you have any questions, let me know. And that's, yeah.